Hey and welcome, msKIRAspeaks. Before we get started, I ask that you watch the videos till the end, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Listen, I really was trying to get this video up before the new year, but it don't look like that's gonna happen. Recorded, yes. Edited and uploaded, no. So happy new year, guys. Hope you guys had a great year and wishing you a wonderful 2022. So we are here for another episode of Marriage Bootcamp, Hip Hop Edition, Season 18, Episode 10, Put a Ring on It. It's the season finale, guys. So we pick up right where we left off. Amber had thrown a drink on Brock. They're arguing. Tough is in his confessional and he says that the two now know how to trigger each other, and that's just a sign of an unhealthy relationship. Because when you trigger a person blatantly, when you know how to trigger a person and you go out of your way blatantly to do it, like, that's not a good thing. And Nori in his confessionals sees the person that he used to be in Brock, where he used to try to test his partner's ground. And the guys tell Brock he did too much that night. So it's finally day 10, decision day. Dr. Ish and Judge Toller are curious to see how the group reacts because so many of them lied. They've never had almost the whole house be deceptive. They want to see if it will affect their decision that night. Guys, oh my God, I got something in my eye. Y'all can't see it, but my eye's blurry. Anyway, let's move right along. So the ladies, they wonder who in each of the couples lied. The guys tell Brock that the stunt he pulled last night, he might not get a ring. Nori says that she's asking for security and your first problems were on national TV and that you did it again on national TV. So we see some more conversation amongst the ladies and the fellas separately, and Nori is really worried that Neri doesn't want a baby. Moni's daughters call and got her all stressed out because she wants to know if they're going to be coming home together. So Moni says that she needs it to be a definitive moment either way, shit or get off the pot. Girl, I hear you. Boot campers head to the back patio. Dr. Ish is there with the last piece of the puzzle. They need to make their ultimate decision at boot camp. Judge Toller comes out with those lie detector results, and the exercise is simply titled that. Judge says, I said at least one person in each group failed the lie detector test. What I didn't say was only one person in each group lied. In some couples, both parties did. So Nori and Neri are up first. They asked Nori, can your wife sustain a successful career without you? His response was yes, and deception was indicated. The group was like, oh, come on. The judge asked Neri how she feels about that, and she says for the most part that she's not surprised, and she can see that he wants her to rely on her for help with her business. And Nori in his confessional, he's basically saying he was 50-50 in his feelings about whether she could do it on her own, like she could, but he didn't want her to. You know how men do sometimes. So they asked Neri, do you want to have another baby? Her response was no. And no deception was indicated. And everybody seemed surprised that her answer was no. Judge asked Nori how he feels about that. He says he's not sure. And Neri says she just feels like it's not the right moment. He says he's not too surprised because he knows that she wants to be a businesswoman, but there are other options like surrogates. So Amber and Brock, they're up next. You know how it goes with these two. They asked Brock, can you commit to a monogamous relationship with Amber? His response was yes, and deception was indicated. Moni gasped out loud. Judge says, now it's time to find out if this is a couple where only one has deception indicated or if both had results where deception was indicated. They asked Amber, would you marry a bisexual man? Amber's response was yes, and deception was indicated. Moni again gasped out loud. Judge asked how they both feel, and Amber says she's surprised by him, but with the way that she's felt, it shouldn't be a surprise that she wouldn't want to be with the bisexual man. Which is, I don't know why she answered like that. Brock says, he felt like he knew. This was just clarity. Moni in her confessional says she's worried about what's going to happen at the ring ceremony between Brock and Amber. Last up, we have Moni and Tough. They asked Moni, do you forgive Tough for his infidelity? Her response was yes, and deception was indicated. Brock says, oh shit, out loud. In her confessional, Amber says, damn, Moni, I thought you was over that shit. But guess what? I knew you weren't, because I wouldn't be. Fair enough assessment. So judge says, now we have to find out if Moni's the only person that lied. They asked Tough, do you want to be in a monogamous relationship with Moni? His response was no. And no deception was indicated. The group as a whole was shocked by that one. And I was too. I got all my predictions except that one right. I thought that Tough was going to say yes and that deception was going to be indicated, but lo and behold, he just was honest and said he didn't want to be in a relationship. Dr. Ish asked Moni how does he feel about Tough's answers, and he asked her, did you know that's what he thought? And she didn't. And Tough says, Tough, how do you feel about Moni's answer? And he said he knew it. And I mean, we all did. We knew she wasn't over it. He says that's why he made the decision to answer the way that he did. They all have a lot to think about. Judge wishes them the best of luck in the decision that they're going to make today because it's not an easy one. Dr. Ish says the clock is ticking. He's going to check in with each person with their ring boxes, and this is the last time that they'll see each other before the commitment ceremony. So they're in the kitchen, and it was the ladies, and they weren't supposed to be engaging each other, but Brock comes in the kitchen to get something to drink, and Amber makes a comment, and Tough reminds him, like, y'all are not supposed to be engaging, but the two of them, they exchange words. So when Brock leaves, you got the men and the women, and they discuss the lie detector results. And the one thing that I kind of will address, because they kind of beat a dead horse. They probably had like the less serious of the situation, but Nori says that they have a good life, and he doesn't understand why she wouldn't want to add another baby to that. And Tough says, maybe having a baby will be too much time, time taken away from them. And Nori says that's why he wants to deal with it. He missed births, birthdays, Christmases, so he wants a do-over. And he mentioned that in the last episode, and I meant to say then, there are no do-overs. All you can do is spend the time you have going forward with the ones that you have, because a new baby is just that. It's a new baby. You're still not really getting a do-over, in my opinion. But Moni is calm, and in her confessional, Amber says she doesn't understand it, and child, I don't either. She says either she smells some BS or some cap. She doesn't know which one it is. And then Moni says she has in her head how she wants things to go, and if it doesn't go, if it's not, she gonna be the bitch from Maury. Really, Moni? Because she just said in the last episode that she wasn't gonna do all that. But anywho, so everyone is getting ready for later, and Dr. Ish, he starts to make his rounds. We see him talk to Brock first, and he says he has mixed feelings because there is so much love there. So much love, so much history, Dr. Ish says, and there's safety there too. But she does not love his sexuality, and how is that fair to him? And I feel like Dr. Ish was spot on with this. And I'm going to give my quick opinion before we get to the ring ceremony. I wish for Amber and Brock to be great friends and stop trying to have an intimate relationship, because they both deserve more than that. So Amber tells Dr. Ish that the lie detector results were a confirmation of how she was feeling. And he asked if she's hoping that down the road someday things will, he'll feel differently. And she says yes. And Dr. Ish says, a true friend just wants to see their friend happy, and what's in the box tonight is supposed to be a reflection of that. So in her confessional, Amber talks about she's afraid to marry him and basically wake up one day and then he wants to be with the man, and that would tear her apart, and nobody has control over that, whether it's a man or a woman. But I get the man thing, I guess, would hit her a little bit harder. But I mean, I digress. So Moni says if she does not get a ring, she has somebody else lined up, and they laugh. And Dr. Ish, he's still making his rounds, and he asks Tough, where his head is at. And Tough says his head is optimistic based on the history with Mo. And he says they've been through a lot, and he feels like at this point, he might as well keep going. Dr. Ish is shocked, and I was too. And I'm going to say this right now before I keep going. based on what Tough just said, what was the whole point of them coming to boot camp, like on the show? If they were just going to stay together regardless of what the outcome was, am I wrong in this? Put your thoughts down in the comments about that. So Dr. Ish asked, because like I said, he's totally confused. He's like, because I have a family with her, my daughter will be an adult soon. And Dr. Ish in his confessional says that he needs him to make a decision he talks about, rap and fantasy and blah, 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 but he wants it to be from a practical place based on what they know about each other over these last 9 days and what they just heard revealed on the lie detector test. He reminds Tough what he said. You just said you didn't want to be in a monogamous relationship and now you're backsliding. And he says that he told himself that. He's like, because, Dr. Ish is like, because that's the truth. So Dr. Ish says from what he's seen in these 10 days, he sees two people who are very uncomfortable when it comes to showing affection. He asks, when was the last time they had sex? And Tough says, a long time, longer than I can remember. And now I'm just totally confused and befuddled about what's going on with these two, or if they're a real couple, but we're not even going to go over there right now. Why are they there? So then we flash over to Dr. Ish. He's talking to Moni and he tells her, you have a 13-year-old daughter at home and you are her model. Something tells me that you don't want her to be in a loveless relationship where there's no affection. And Moni says, listen, she needs a kiss every night before she goes to bed. And Dr. Ish is like, you give that to her. But who's giving that to Moni? And Moni looks like she had a light bulb moment, but we will see later, maybe not. So Dr. Ish says, no sex, no forgiveness, doesn't trust him, live in separate states. They've got a daughter like half the country and co-parents together. It doesn't make sense. Does it ever make sense though, Doc? And this is Tough talking to Dr. Ish. And Dr. Ish responds like, yes, it does. So he gives Moni a box and he explains to her what it means, for the ring to be in the box versus the ring not be in the box. He gives Tough a box with no ring. And he says he didn't put the ring in it because of everything that he showed him in the past 9.5 days. He feels like Tough feels like he needs to give Moni a ring because he let her down so many ways for so long, and that she'll be pissed if there's no ring in the box. You want to do another 10 years like this? Because there's no romance, there's no affection. And Tough says that could be worked on if both people are willing to work on it. Dr. Ish reminds him the final decision is in his hands. He tells him and he gives him the ring. Think about what's best for Tough and realize while you did hurt her, it doesn't deserve a life sentence. Tough in his confessional says he's having doubts. He gives Moni a last few words, and he says Moni deserves, some love and some affection and some tenderness in her life. And after he leaves, Moni said she thought she had this figured out. She doesn't have this figured out. He stops to chat with Neri. She says, today was hard, but he knows it's not the right time, for them to have a baby. And Dr. Ish says, you're with a man with a large platform. He has a very large voice, so it's not surprised that yours gets lost in the background. But you found it here. While he's talking to Nori, he says, Nori says he feels a little confused about her not wanting a baby, not what you wanted to hear. Dr. Ish, says, he says, I wanted to respect it, honor it, but he really wanted her to change her mind. He kind of tells Nori to be mindful of how you show up. Like if you show up on 90, she's going to see it and you're going to have a problem. And then he says, I don't want you to get in a habit of feeling like you've got to redo the moments you feel that you miss. You can't go back and redo those moments. And in trying to do so, that's going to make you miss out on the special moments you have right now. Thank you, Dr. Ish. That is exactly what I was trying to say earlier, but he expressed it so articulately as only Dr. Ish could. So after talking to both, he gives them the ring boxes. The guys have some last minute conversations. The ladies have some last minute conversations. We have Moni and Tough are up. Dr. Ish says over the past 10 days, they've worked with them both, and it leads to one final question. Should you leave here together or go your separate ways? He asked Tough if there's any final things that he'd like to say to Moni before his decision, and they both say nice things to each other. But the last thing they said is what I focused on before they made their decision. He says the experience showed him that everything isn't all right or healed. Moni says that there's still a level of guardedness and a level of emotion that he hasn't shown her. Those were like the two, issues that they left towards the end. Like they said nice things and then they said whatever. Moni in her confessional, she says she wants the third time to be a charm. She's been married twice, divorced twice, blah, blah, blah. They both give each other a ring. Seriously, Dr. Ish says, my sentiments exactly, sir. It doesn't stop here, he tells them. This is just the beginning. He says it doesn't feel good, but, and in the confessional, Tuff says, Dr. Ish is hating. I'm gonna move on as to how I feel about that. Next up is Brock and Amber. Brock starts off with she's the love of his life and ends with they just need more help. Amber starts off with she loves him also, and it runs deep, but there is so much toxic energy between them. Brock has a ring for her, but he says that they're not ready right now, and he gives the ring to Dr. Ish. Amber has no ring in her box, and she says she wanted to give him what he deserves from her. Brock wants to explain, but Amber says she doesn't care, and she leaves. There wasn't really much else to say. She was mad. He was hurt. And then he goes to talk to Moni and Tuff, and Moni's like, well, listen, you didn't have to take the ring out the box and give it to Dr. Ish. You could have just said the words that you needed to say, that you weren't ready and you needed more time. But she also did say earlier that she thinks that that was probably the best scenario for them. And it probably was, because they had a lot of underlying stuff. But we're going to try to wrap it up. Last up is Nori and Neri. Nori tells her, you know, he loves her and she's the love of his life, etc. But he's still a little confused about not wanting the baby. Neri says she loves him too, but being a businesswoman is very important to her. And the kids are old enough now that they can have their alone time, so they open their boxes together, and Nori's box is empty. Both Dr. Ish and Neri are shocked, and Nori walks away. And he comes back, and he said he never proposed to her in the right way, and she never got an upgrade for a ring. He says they got married, and his career hit a dry spell, and she never asked him for an upgrade, anything materialistic. He wants to do this for her, and he gets on one knee and asks her to be his wife again. It was a nice moment. Good job, Nori. So Moni, she's excited for them. She's screaming, she's yelling. Dr. Ish and Judge Tola come in, and they give them a few words, and everyone says a few words before we get their updates. Hopefully I can squeeze all this in. Moni and Tuff are vibing on the same old beat, living in different cities, but remaining a so-called unit. The duo reports that although Dr. Ish may be hating, they are still in a good place and will always be family. The relationship may not have progressed from where they were on day one, but at least they're still together for now. I honestly did not expect anything different. Brock and Amber's on again, off again relationship is on again. To no one's surprise, the pair is still in each other's life and committed to trying to make some semblance of a relationship work. Who knows what the future holds in their self-proclaimed untraditional relationship and family. And I can say I'm not surprised here, although these two really didn't need to be together. Hell, neither did Moni and Tuff, but they're in two states anyway. Nori and Neri celebrate a decade together as they renew their vows surrounded by family and friends. Nori has learned to help Neri with the household so that she can concentrate on opening her new juice bar. And I am so glad that everything is working out for these two, and I hope that it stays this way. And they're really the only couple that I was rooting for, to be honest. Judge Tola says, I wish you everything you need, much of what you want, and some joy you didn't expect. Dr. Ish says, you've got one mic, rock it. You've got one gift, give it. You've got one life, live it. And you've got one love, just give it. And that is where we end. And overall, I think it was a pretty good season. Like, what do you guys think? Throw that down in the comments for me. If you've made it this far, put a champagne glass emoji in the comments. Cheers, guys. While you're here, please check out some of my other content. Thank you. I am watching Love and Hip Hop Family Reunion, but I will not be reviewing it. However, I think I will be reviewing Growing Up Hip Hop, so keep your notifications on and stay tuned. Before you go, please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate you. Peace.